These feelings of low self-esteem, try expressing how you're feeling to those closest to you. Speak openly to those you trust and let them reassure you. Focus, too, on improving those relationships so that there's a greater trust and better communication. When you feel actively loved and appreciated by another person, you're less likely to feel like a burden. If you don't have someone you can trust to be open with, consider speaking with a licensed counselor.
And right now, the final one we have is getting help with mental illness. As we mentioned before, low self-esteem is a symptom of a number of mental disorders. If you are struggling with anxiety, depression, or another mental disorder, reaching out to a licensed therapist is an important first step. Therapy can help you cope with low self-esteem and other symptoms as well, so you can live the best life possible. When we think of therapy, we usually think of in-person sessions in an office at a nearby location. However, especially when you aren't feeling great, there are times when it's difficult to attend in-person therapy. This is where online counseling comes in.
Feeling like a burden can greatly impact your self-perception and mental health. However, these feelings are rarely justified or true. If you're feeling like a burden to those around you, therapy can help you understand just how worthy and loved you truly are. So with that in mind, when you have felt like a burden, have you used any of these, or have you found that any of these techniques have been at all helpful for you?
Well, because I do somewhat have slightly lower self-esteem, I guess I'll kind of talk about some of the ways they express that and see what ones I've done. Repeat positive affirmations and point out things you love about yourself. I know my strengths and weaknesses. I have repeatedly tried telling myself that, hey, I know I'm a straight A student, I know I'm good at this. I don't know if it works. I just do it, so.
And this is something that Mommy and I try to do, to kind of point out to you that, because a lot of times the things that tend to bring you down are scholastic issues.
Yeah.
Which you don't have, but you have this perception that you do.
Yeah.
So, I think Mommy and I are trying to provide that positive reinforcement of, okay, you got a 96, you didn't get 100, it's okay, And when we've had these discussions, you do seem to calm down and relax a little bit. You're not nearly as uptight. So I do think they do help. Yeah. I don't know if you doing it yourself is as effective.
Yeah.
But I think with those around you providing you support, you're big on support. And I think our family, for the most part, tends to be very supportive, and that helps.
Yeah.
How about, creating words of encouragement and reminders for yourself?
I've never really thought of that, and I've never really done it, so.
That might be something we have to give it a try and see if it works.
Yeah. Spend more time with the people who make you feel loved and appreciated. I do that.
Well, you didn't have a choice during the pandemic. I mean, Mommy and Daddy were here, and you couldn't go anywhere, so.
Yeah.
Do the things you excel at. What do you excel at? Give me top 3 things that you excel at.
Art. Probably any form, mostly.
Sure. I would say research. You do a fantastic job researching these podcasts.
Yeah, research. Let's see, what else? Would gaming be something I'm good at?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Those are all good things. And these are the things that, maybe you need to do more of that. Maybe you need to, come up with more lists. Instead of stopping at 3, let's go to 5 next time. And then let's go to 7. And, you keep hammering those home and you realize, you're a pretty, wonderful individual.
Yeah. And art's probably the biggest thing that I've done that I can relate to, because whenever I draw or come up with a story or play some type of music, it's always like a way I'm like, oh wow, I actually really like this. Right. I make an art piece I really like. I come up with a really cool idea for a story that I really like. I play a song really well.
Yeah. How about relationships? What do you do to improve, or do you do anything to improve relationships?
I've been trying to talk with all my friends and, trying to keep up with them. And,
That's one that's probably just a situational struggle at this point in time, but I think your involvement in marching band is significantly improving that and expanding that relationship pool by exposing you to more people that you can hang around with that have common interests.
yeah, the thing is, I've actually started really connecting with one of the veterans, Gabe. We've actually started talking a bit more, and by the end of yesterday's practice, he actually said that I was doing really well for a rookie.
That's good.
So,
See, and getting praise from
Yeah.
someone who's been, with the program for a while now, it's got to be uplifting.
yeah.
So there are things that you can do, and again, for the listening audience out there, if these techniques don't work, and if you find that you're running into issues, there's help out there. There are, we already gave the number for the suicide prevention hotline. You can definitely call there, even if it's, if you need help, call. If they can't help you, they can direct you to someplace that can. You have counselors at school that are qualified to help you. You have a family doctors that can put you in touch with people that can provide the help that you need. There are free services out there that you can call that are helplines that can help you. It's not difficult to find the help that you need these days. We're very fortunate in the time that we live in now where there is so much help that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few years ago, you might not have found nearly the kind of help that you have now, and it may have been a struggle to get it. But you have to have the motivation to go out there. You have to have the motivation to want to talk about it. And maybe you're not comfortable going to a professional. You have to find somebody that you trust. Is it a friend? Is it a loved one? Besides mom and daddy, who else would you talk to about issues?
Probably some of my friends. Mariah probably being the main one since I've known her for the longest.
Right.
And since she is around my age, I'd probably be the most comfortable talking to her about issues because maybe she's faced something similar.
And a lot of times, the way that you start a conversation like this, because a lot of people don't know how to approach a conversation. Sometimes it might just be questions. If you're feeling depressed, it might be, have you ever had a feeling where you're just overwhelmed with sadness for reasons that you don't understand? And that alone could be the icebreaker for you. You don't have to come out and say, hey, I'm depressed. What can I do? It doesn't have to be something that direct.
Yeah.
But trying to understand how you feel, people accomplish that best by asking questions and bouncing those questions off of someone else. That's kind of how you start a conversation. You go back and forth because you never know. The interesting thing about that is the person that you're confiding in may have the same problems that you're running into too. They might be afraid to talk about it. And you starting that conversation with them may inadvertently be helping them deal with the problems that they're running into. Because everyone deals with these things. And that's the one thing I think we kind of need to emphasize here. You've dealt with feeling like a burden. I've dealt with feeling like a burden. Different age groups, different genders, different generations, different circumstances entirely. So everybody goes through these things. Everyone has self-esteem issues at some point. Everyone feels depression. Don't think that you're the only person that goes through this. Everybody does at some point in time. They may have, the person you're talking to may have gone through it already and may be a good shoulder to lean on, may have some advice for you, may be going through it now, and you may be mutually benefiting each other by trying to talk about it. Don't ever feel isolated that this is the only thing, you're the only person that this is happening to, because it happens to everybody. And, most people don't want to deal with it because society kind of, stigmatizes people. And it's less so these days than it has been in the past. Fortunately, people have acknowledged the significance of mental health, and you're less stigmatized in society today about it, which is a good thing. You know, when I grew up as a teen, you didn't talk about these things. You didn't talk about your feelings. You weren't allowed to have feelings when you were a kid, not if you were a boy. You know, the gender roles were so clearly defined, 30 years ago that you boys were tough and girls were the emotional ones. And if the two mixed, there was a problem. So it was a very different world back then. And to look back in hindsight now, it's kind of a relief to see that things have progressed as far as they have. That's not to say that we're where we need to be.
Yeah.
There's definitely room to maneuver.
Yep.
Do you find that any of the guys that you talk to, or that the friends that you've had in school, are they more outgoing, more open about feelings and stuff, or do you really not have those conversations?
I sometimes have conversations with some of my younger friends, particularly Lindsay, whenever she does go through slightly more emotional states. And I try to give her what I felt, what I learned on how I was feeling around the time I was her age, and, trying to help her out in the best way I can.
Right. And, that is what this podcast was designed to do. It was specifically for you, with the hope that maybe we could help some other people out there with some of the things that we went over. Mm-hmm. So, hopefully we're helping people out. If people want to contact us, we'll be more than happy to listen, certainly confidentially if people want to go that route. But, if you need someone to talk to, I think we're fairly reasonable individuals here that would be happy to listen and at least listen. I can't promise anything else. We're not professionals. We can't provide you professional help, but, we're certainly happy to listen. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to take our final break. We're going to come back real quick. We'll get your closing thoughts and finish up with the podcast business.
Alrighty.
We'll be right back. Go for your closing remarks.
Alright, so to everyone out there, I just wanted to let everyone know that it's alright if you feel like a burden. Like we mentioned before, everyone goes through it everyone can go through it at some point. There's always gonna be a moment where everyone can go through questions of low self-esteem, feelings of sadness or depression, and just know that you're not alone. And in a lot of cases, it's better to open up to people than stay silent and keep it all closed off. Even if they can't provide you with a solution, in a lot of cases, you don't really need a solution. A lot of times, you just need someone that'll listen to you.
Amen to that. Sage advice as always.
Thank you.
Before we go, I do want to invite folks to subscribe to the podcast. Once again, you can find audio versions of this podcast listed as Insights into Teens. Video versions of all of our podcasts can be found listed as Insights into Things. Any place you can get a podcast, basically. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, etc. We would also encourage you to write in, give us your thoughts, give us your suggestions for topics. You can email us at comments@insightsintothings.com. You can hit us on Twitter at insights_things. You can get high-res versions of all of our videos on YouTube at youtube.com/insightsintothings. We do stream on Twitch 5 days a week at twitch.tv/insightsintothings. If you are a Amazon Prime subscriber, you do get a monthly Twitch Prime subscription. We'd love it if you threw it our way. It helps us pay the bills. Audio versions of this podcast can be found on the web at podcast.insightsintoteens.com. You can get us on Facebook at facebook.com/insightsintothingspodcast or at instagram.com/insightsintothings. Or you can get links to all those and more on our website at insightsintothings.com. And
don't forget to check out our other two podcasts, Insights into Entertainment, hosted by you and Mommy, and Insights into Tomorrow, our monthly podcast hosted by you and my brother Sam.
Well done. And I think that's it. Another one in the books.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. 7 years, the Second Sith Empire has been the premier community guild in the online game Star Wars: The Old Republic. With hundreds of friendly and helpful active members, a weekly schedule of nightly events, annual guild meet and greets, and an active community both on the web and on Discord. The Second Sith Empire is more than your typical gaming group. We're family. Join us on the Starforge server for nightly events such as operations, flashpoints, world boss hunts, Star Wars trivia, guild lottery, and much more. Visit us on the web today at www.thesecondsithempire.com.
Insightful podcasts by informative hosts. Insights into Things, a podcast network. Welcome to Insights into Entertainment, a podcast series taking a deeper look into entertainment and media. Your hosts, Joseph and Michelle Whalen, a husband and wife team of pop culture fanatics, are exploring all things from music and movies to television and fandom.
Welcome to Insights into Entertainment. This is episode 121, If You Build It. I'm your host, Joseph Whalen, and my loving and inspiring co-host, Michelle Whalen.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing today, dear?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Anything exciting this week?
Ooh, dentist appointment.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Well, for the child.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was today. Oh, an orthodontist. So, woo.
Right.
But I even get to go to the dentist.
But you know what? This week was better than last week because she wasn't at band camp this week.
That is true. Actually, got to see her a little bit more, and she's at band now, but at least it's not band camp. It's just regular band. So
that's not what we're talking about today.
It's not?
No, well, it is, and we've already talked about it.
Okay,
so.
On to the next.
So what we are talking about today in our Disney Detective, will Disney Genie have guests spend less time in line? I'll believe it when I see it. Then the Beauty and the Beast stage show reopens at the studios. And in our Tales from the Edge of the Galaxy, what is Batouise and where do you need it? Plus, how Taiko Waititi's Star Wars movie will differ from Ragnarok. And for our entertainment news, did Disney accidentally solve Hollywood's biggest problem? And will they really come if you build it? Yes, they will. By the busload, as a matter of fact. And as always, we'll finish up with our insightful picks of the week before some afterthoughts. But before we do that, I would invite our audience to subscribe to the podcast. You can get audio versions of this podcast listed as Insights into Entertainment. You can get video versions of the podcast listed as Insights into Things. We're available pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast: Google, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, and so forth. I would also invite our audience to write in, give us your feedback, tell us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, suggestions, feedback on shows that are coming up in your area so we can cover a more geographically diverse group of shows that we talk about in our afterthoughts.
Yep.
You can email us at comments@insightsintothings.com. We're on Twitter at insights_things. You can get us at Facebook at facebook.com/insightsintothingspodcast or Instagram at instagram.com/insightsintothings, where you can get links to all of our social media and contact information on our website at insightsintothings.com. Are we ready?
Sure.
Here we go. Go for Disney Detective.
So our first article that we're going to talk about, actually there's been more of an update that literally just came out about an hour, 2 hours ago, and we happened to watch the video that actually came out from Disney parks themselves. But this article was from wdwnt.com talking about at last Thursday's meeting, Disney CEO Bob Chapek had started to kind of hint about the Disney Genie that was going to be launching in this fall. And again, like I said, since, again, just a couple of hours ago, they released a video. We went through it. Kind of confusing. There's still not a lot of information. But the idea is that coming this fall, guests are supposed to be spending less time in line and more time having fun. He discussed that the guest-centric services that Disney has been developing for years, including the new Magic Key Pass program for Disneyland and the upcoming Disney Genie app. He also noted that it would be more easily and effective to navigate everything that the parks had to open. And again, more details would soon be coming out. And again, we did see some of that. The idea of it is this Disney Genie. And from what we saw on the video, basically it's going to give you a suggestion as to what time to go to a certain ride. You'll put in your preferences as to what kind of rides you want, that you're interested in, what kind of characters you're interested in, and it'll kind of put together a day for you. It's not the fast pass system because you're still waiting on a line, but it'll say, oh, this might have a 15-minute wait, or this might have a 20-minute wait, and it'll even give you suggestions for food. If you don't already have a reservation for something, it'll say, oh, well, since you're going to be in this area, here's a good location to go and grab a bite to eat. And then on top of that, because again, this is the complimentary service, on top of that, there's going to be the paid service, which is the Disney Genie Plus, and that will actually tell you, hey, if you want to go on this ride, click here, and you basically make a reservation, and it might be within the next 20 minutes or so. And when you click on that, then you have to go over to that ride. Now, again, they didn't talk about pricing on this because then there's also the Lightning Lane as well, which is another add-on service. And that almost sounded like a la carte, really, service where it was like a specific ride you would pick to do the Lightning Lane service for that. The one interesting with the Genie Plus that we saw in the video was that Photo Pass was going to be included with that. So that's that almost makes it a little worth it. If you're the type of person that likes to get those special photos taken by the Disney photographers, or now a lot of the rides have special photos as well. So again, we have to wait and see. I think you said you saw an article where it talked about it would be $20.
Yeah, so I read an article on CNN that went into a little bit more detail with it. Mm-hmm. So they had mentioned that Disneyland, it was going to be $15. They didn't say what the duration, per day,
per ticket, per whatever.
They didn't say that. So Disneyland was listed as $15. Mm-hmm. Disney World was listed as $20. And the way they depicted it was your Lightning Lane's your Fast Pass, basically.
Right.
You can have one Lightning Lane active at a time. Once you use that, just like the old Fast Pass used to be.
Right. Once you use it, then you can go and select something else.
They did not mention what the ride restrictions were, but there are supposedly ride restrictions because the other thing that they're doing, and really what the Disney Genie is, it's a search engine with an AI. So what they do is they take your input, they compare it against what the known line trends are that they have, and they'll suggest times to do the rides you want to do when it's trending lower.
Right.
Now, it actively adapts to the day. So, so your tip boards that you would normally go out and look at for your wait times are fed into this app as well.
Right.
So you're going to see that these apps are going to be updating those wait times. Right. And you'll see it live, which is kind of cool the way that they're doing
Right.
that.
And also if there's a ride that's down, you'll see it.
Right. And it's supposed to reschedule your day on the fly. It's not, you don't just pick your stuff and have it set for the day. It's interactive.
Right.
And it's using a little bit of intelligence to it. And that's the one thing I do give Disney credit for is they've really thought this out. And they have it set up for multiple levels of people. So if you don't know anything about Disney, you could just go through and, all right, I like Star Wars. I like Pixar. I like this. I like that. Or pick the type of ride. I like coasters or I like interactive rides, and it'll figure out what you want. Or if you're a little more advanced, you can go in and pick the specific rides that you want.
Right.
Then when you have the Genie Plus, you have the option when you get your rides listed to pick your lightning lane. And the lightning lane shows whatever the next available lightning lane time is. You claim that slot, you show up at the ride, and you walk on just like a fast pass.
And I believe it's the same. You have like an hour time.
Yes, they do give you the time
frame.
They give you the time frame window, the window in which to
Right. Now, the one thing that they haven't talked about here, and I'm sure it's going to be talked about, because before, when you had a fast pass, you didn't pay for it. If you missed your window, you were done. It expired.
Right.
You didn't, usually.
Well, and the same thing will happen here. It'll just open up and you can get another window at that point.
I guess that's the question, is since now you're paying for so many of the lightning lanes, I guess.
Well, and the funny thing is they don't tell you that there's a limit. You could have one active at a time.
Right. But how many do you get per day? They did mention in
the last video that we watched, you should be able to get on 2 or 3 of the rides that you want, which is roughly what you were able to do at Fast Pass, because you could pick 3 things in Fast Pass.
I was going to say 3,
pick one after
right?
That.
Exactly. And sometimes we looked at and maybe got 5 Fast Passes,
depending on how we scheduled
the day.
Right. So, and you could probably get away with that. Now, the other thing they did mention is one, it's going to try to optimize getting on and off rides based on the trending.
Right.
You'll also still have virtual queues for rides at a resistance.
Right, they did say
where you had virtual queues before. So they kind of have these 3 different ways to try to keep you out of the line.
It sounded like they were doing what they could to maximize your time on rides and not in line.
Right. And Disney's doing this not to make it convenient for you, just to be clear.
Right.
Disney's doing this so that you're spending more time spending money at the park than spending time standing in the line.
Which we've said for years that they would so benefit from not having people stand in line for over an hour when we went to Galaxy's Edge and we had our boarding pass for Rise of the Resistance. We went and got snacks. We went and did shopping. If we had been standing on that line, that's revenue that Disney wouldn't have gotten.
That was probably $600 they would not have gotten out of us.
Yeah, they really got a lot of
now,
us.
I will say I am skeptical of this, because the technology they're throwing at this right now depends very heavily on what their traditional models are of their lines.
Right.
And as soon as you put this in place, it's going to throw that entire dynamic out the window.
Because things haven't been the same.
Well, not even that, but you now have an app that's designed to optimize those wait times.
Right.
So you're not going. What you're going to see is you might not have really high wait times or really low. Everything might come into the middle here, and that's really what an app like this. This is kind of what this type of technology does. Is it's designed to throw away those highs and lows, and then average you out into the middle there.
So there's like a 15 to 20 minute wait for everything
across the board, which isn't terrible.
I would be okay with that.
I will mention, in every video that I've watched on this so far, at no point in time was Peter Pan's ride ever appearing in that app.
I guess we know it's never going to.
Because as soon as the rope drops, there's a 90-minute wait for Peter Pan.
It'll be interesting to see. Well, and again, we're not planning a trip anytime soon. So if this is coming out, I'm guessing probably for October. Probably for the 50th anniversary of Magic Kingdom, so we can let all the bugs and everything.
I think it's a move in the right direction.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to need to be proven out. And I think once those trends level out, you're going to have to see if the system actually works the way they want it to.
Right. And again, I'm interested to see, because you said it was $20. That was for the Lightning Lane.
Well, 20 was for the Genie Plus.
Oh, that was for the Genie Plus.
Right.
Okay.
So if $20 gets you your Lightning Lane and your Fast
See, I don't
Pass,
think so. I think it's an additional for the Lightning Lane.
Well, because the Lightning Lane's included with Disney Plus is what Genie Plus is what they said.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to have to do some more research and more reading up because we don't want to misquote anything. But if it's $20 a day added on, that's not so bad because, again, if you're getting the photos, because
Right.
just
Now,
the
they
photos
were-
alone are like $150.
They were not very forthcoming with information on the photos. They showed you having access to PhotoPass
Right.
and the special effects.
Right.
They didn't tell you if you were getting all those. Like,
Right.
you could take a picture, because one of the other things the article in CNN mentioned was you're going to have an augmented reality.
The Snapchat filter, basically.
Right. So
Yeah.
you'll have the ability to pull up your camera through the app itself.
Right.
And, get
And
some of these
Mickey or the...
filters.
Right.
Whether or not that is PhotoPass like we know it or not is
Right.
another story.
Right.
So
again, a lot to kind of digest and a lot to
and there's a
come
lot
out.
that's come out on this already from multiple sources,
Right.
all having a different piece of the puzzle. It seems
Right.
like.
So stay tuned. We'll probably have more at some
Yes.
point in time.
And as another sign that things are trying to get back to normal, we have a show
so
coming back.
this was kind of good news again. So the Beauty and the Beast live stay show that occurs at Disney's Hollywood studio has now come back as well. So it finally reopened after obviously being closed since the park closed in March of 2020. So when the park reopened, most of the shows hadn't opened up. So it's nice to see. We did report a couple of months ago that the Lion King show had opened up and now the Beauty and the Beast show. So at the time that this article came out, I think it was the beginning of the week, face masks would be required in the theater as per the current guidelines. So even though the theater for the most part is kind of an open air theater, it basically just has a covering, you are still required to wear a face mask. So all the hit songs from the classic animated film are featured, starting off with Belle, and of course it wouldn't be Beauty and the Beast without the musical number of Be Our Guest. The show does close with its normal tearjerker of Beauty and the Beast. The finale, the only change that was noticed in the show was Belle and Prince Adam skipping their kiss in favor of a more physically distanced farewell. So no kissing.
High five. Virtual.
Elbows. So park hours are currently posted through October 30th with showtimes listed at 11, 1, 2, 4, and 5 daily. So having, a good number of shows throughout the day. Obviously, before you go, check the website and check the Disney Experience app in case there's any updates. So good news that, again, things are starting to open back up. Unfortunately, the COVID numbers are going up as well. And one of the other articles that I happened to see that I didn't throw in was talking about, because unfortunately the COVID numbers going up, a lot of people are actually canceling their reservations. So the occupancy level at a lot of the resorts was up to about 95 for the resorts that are open. Because again, not all of the resorts are open just yet, but now they're starting to see a drop with people that are deciding not to travel. So it'll be interesting to see how things kind of go the next, couple of weeks, couple of months even. So
it is nice to see them bring this back. This is probably one of my more favorite stage shows that they have.
One of mine as well.
Because it does a very good job of capturing the essence of the movie itself.
In a quick 20-minute show.
Yeah. The only dig I've ever had is that it's not an air-conditioned theater.
Yes.
So I can't imagine how the folks in costume survive on stage in the summer. There.
Yeah.
So
lots of ice, I'm sure.
Yes. Because they don't even air-condition the stage, do they?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some cooling mechanism in, in their costume. I don't know. We'll have to ask friends of ours that are
might know
former
friends of
cast
people
members that might know. So
So that was all we had for our Disney Detective. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our Tales from the Edge of the Galaxy. For over 7 years, the Second Sith Empire has been the premier community guild in the online game Star Wars: The Old Republic. With hundreds of friendly and helpful active members, a weekly schedule of nightly events, annual guild meet and greets, and an active community both on the web and on Discord. The Second Sith Empire is more than your typical gaming group. We're family. Join us on the Starforge server for nightly events such as operations, flashpoints, world boss hunts, Star Wars trivia, guild lottery, and much more. Visit us on the web today at www.thesecondsithempire.com. Go for Tales from the Edge of the Galaxy.
So, if you say "till the spire" in a normal conversation, you'll probably get some pretty strange looks. Say it at Black Spire Outpost in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and well, you'll still probably get some really strange looks. And it all depends on what level of a fan you're talking to, or whether they know the secret language of Batuu. So when Disneyland's Imagineers dreamed up the new Star Wars land, they envisioned a land that took place outside of the storyline of the Star Wars movies, and that was... Oh, geez, Louise, that scared me.
Special effects.
Wow. Okay.
I got remote control monitors. Anyway, so... Woo! Live podcast. Isn't that exciting?
The force is strong in me, so woo! So when they envisioned a land that took place outside of the storyline of the Star Wars movies that was contemporary to Star Wars The Force Awakens, but wasn't contingent on any of the action in the older or still to come movies. So that meant that they couldn't rely on many of the franchise's beloved characters to create a true sense of Star Wars-ness. So what they could kind of tap into was that the galaxy far, far away had a vast and as of yet unexplored reaches. So they invented a planet that no Star Wars fan had ever been to, and a planet with a village that serves as a trading outpost for local Batuuans. Is that? Batuuans. And visitors from a galaxy far, far away as maybe Frontierland. So what the Imagineers actually envisioned first was actually Tatooine. But when then CEO Bob Iger, according to the Star Tours episode of Behind the Attraction, kind of nixed it in favor for theming it to kind of the 7th Star Wars movie, which at the time didn't even have a script yet. So that's when the whole brand new land came into being, and the Imagineers didn't just want to invent a storyline and 2 rides to put you inside of some of the iconic pieces of the Star Wars property. So they basically created this whole area, but they also wanted to create a language. So cast members in the galaxy speak Batuuese. Is that what we said?
Batuuese.
So not to be confused with Arabish, which is the written language of the land. So if you are in Batuu, you would say bright suns, which means a good morning, or rising moons, which is good afternoon or good evening. Or may the spires keep you, which is a phrase of well wishes. Or if you say till the spire, which is a goodbye. Or a data pad, which is your cell phone. Or if you would say ignite the spark, that's how you would greet people in the resistance who then reply, light the fire. Kind of sounds like a pshoo. So obviously there's more phrases and things like that. But what was interesting was in this article, the person talked about how they never heard anybody kind of speaking that. But again, they weren't dressed up as a resistance fighter either. So they were kind of wondering, well, maybe if I wear something, that'll kind of trigger different cast members to say different things. But the interesting thing is that cast members that are in the area don't acknowledge other areas of Disneyland as other parts of the park. They say that that's off planet. So you're not on Pirates of the Caribbean, you're off planet, you're off world. And we even noticed that when we were in Galaxy's Edge in Walt Disney World, that they tried to use different languages when it came to different things. Like when we had to pay for something, it was 15 credits. It wasn't dollars or things like that. So they did try. So it was kind of a cute little article to kind of help to get you inspired to visit. Obviously, the article goes on to talk about how you can actually download the Disney Play app, and in your data pad that it has some sort of translations as well, and that there was a Disney food blog that had a printable guide of other phrases that you could use as well. So
yeah, and you're right. When we were down there, they kind of did that, but they didn't do it to the extent that I would have expected them to.
Right.
And I think for us, it was probably because of the sheer volume of people that were moving through there.
True.
They build the whole thing as an interactive experience. You could join the Resistance, you could join the First Order, and there wasn't really that presence there aside from the couple of the characters walking around.
Right.
So that's probably something that they need to work on a little bit more, especially if they're going to try and make the Star Cruiser experience seem realistic.
Right. And I think that's the other part of it, too, is that once you have the Star Cruiser, there's probably going to be more emphasis on it.
Because that's your excursion there is part of that Star Cruiser experience. And if you're spending $6,000 for your experience, you want to have the experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll see if more people start talking the new language or not.
Yeah. We'll see. Because I've read the novels that went along with it, and they tie a lot of the stuff into the novels. In fact, the layout, we have the Sims add-on for it. Maddie plays that, and it's a duplicate layout of what's there. So they're going in big on the experience itself, and they want to sell it.
Right.
But I think your cast members probably need to have a little more
They probably need
incentive.
a little bit more training with it, too.
Yeah. So tell us about Taika Waititi's new Star Wars movie.
So his upcoming Star Wars film has an opportunity to play to the director's strengths and avoid an issue that many viewers had with Thor Ragnarok. So he's one of the latest directors to have his name attached to an upcoming Star Wars project, although little has been told about the in development film. While most of his work is undoubtedly, he's known for most of his contribution to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's much more to the director and his style than his work on the third Thor movie. Over the last few years, he has now solidified himself as one of the most unique and quirky directors in modern Hollywood. After earning acclaim with 2014